Let's get right into it. Number 15. The Hobbit people who weren't a fantasy. You know how every fantasy movie has a bunch of tiny, barefoot people living in caves and minding their own business until humans show up and ruin everything? Yeah, that actually happened. Meet Homo floresiensis, a species so small, scientists literally called them hobbits. Standing barely a meter tall, they lived on the Indonesian island of Flores about 60,000 years ago. These weren't humans with growth problems. These were a completely separate species. Think of them as an alternate version of humanity that evolution ran as a test build and then just forgot to patch. When scientists found their bones in 2003, people thought it was a hoax. Like, oh cool, someone dumped a bunch of Lord of the Rings props in a cave. But nope, their skulls, their tools, their bone structure, all screamed, "We're not you, but we were doing fine, thanks." What's weird is how they survived. Flores Island was full of things that could easily stomp them flat. Komodo dragons, giant storks, even miniature elephants. Yet, these little cave dwellers hunted, made stone tools, and probably told each other stories around the fire about the big ones, meaning us. Then, one day, they vanished. No wars, no disasters, no viral extinction event that we know of. Just gone. Some scientists blame a volcano, others blame us, because, well, humans have a track record of turning neighbors into extinct species. But here's the kicker. Their brain was only about 1/3 the size of ours, yet they made tools as advanced as the Homo erectus who came before them. Meaning, brain size doesn't always equal intelligence. Your phone proves that every time you open TikTok. So, imagine an entire civilization of hobbits, real ones, living quietly in the jungle, doing their thing until something, or someone, wiped them out. If that doesn't make you question how many other fantasy species were actually just early humans we forgot existed, nothing will. Number 14. The ghosts of the Arctic. You ever wonder if evolution accidentally made an entire race of cold-resistant humans who could survive what you complain about every winter? Meet the Denisovans, the Arctic ghosts of humanity. We didn't even know they existed until someone found a tiny finger bone in a Siberian cave in 2008, a single finger, and that was enough for scientists to go, "Wait, this isn't Neanderthal, and it's not human either." Turns out, Denisovans were our mysterious cousins who thrived in freezing high-altitude environments. They adapted to thin air, low oxygen, and extreme cold. Basically the opposite of every person who starts coughing on a mountain hike. But here's where it gets creepy. We've never found a full Denisovan skeleton. Just teeth, a jaw, and a pinky bone. That's it. And yet, they were everywhere. Their DNA pops up in modern humans across Asia, Oceania, and even the Himalayas, meaning they didn't go extinct entirely. They merged with us, like an ancient biological software update. If you're Tibetan and can breathe easily at high altitude, thank your Denisovan ancestors. They literally gave your blood the ability to handle Everest air. The weirdest part? Some scientists think Denisovans built stone structures deep inside caves, chambers lit by torches, arranged like shrines. In other words, these weren't just frostbitten cavemen. They might have had culture, art, and spiritual life. So what happened to them? Probably us. Again, our ancestors either outcompeted, absorbed, or straight up replaced them. Because when Homo sapiens move in, the HOA rules say everyone else dies or merges. Now the only trace of the Denisovans left in the world is inside our DNA, like ghosts hiding in your cells, whispering, "You're welcome for the oxygen, loser." Number 13. The builders before builders. Imagine you stumble upon a perfect stone wall, 100,000 years old. The blocks fit together better than IKEA furniture, and no one, literally no one, knows who made it. That's the puzzle of Homo Naledi. These guys were discovered in South Africa in 2013, in a deep cave so narrow that even trained scientists could barely squeeze in. It's as if these ancient people were like, yeah, let's store our dead in a spot no one will ever find. Future archaeologists can deal with it. Homo naledi had brains roughly the size of oranges, yet they buried their dead deliberately. Think about that. Burial behavior usually means symbolic thinking, like understanding life, death, and maybe an afterlife. That's deep, emotionally complex stuff for something that looked halfway between a monkey and a middle school science project. They also made fire, they used tools, they carved marks on the walls, and they did it all over 200,000 years ago, before Homo sapiens even showed up in Africa. So, these weren't just cave monkeys. They were early philosophers with bad posture. If that's true, then everything we thought about human intelligence has to be rewritten, because it means small-brained species could do big-brained things. Basically, they were running Windows XP on hardware built for the Stone Age, and somehow still getting the job done. The biggest mystery: how did Homo naledi disappear? No one knows. They might have died out naturally, or maybe our ancestors saw them as competition. But the evidence suggests one haunting truth. They were self-aware. They knew death, and they buried their friends because they felt something about it. It's unsettling to think that long before us, another creature already cried over its dead, and then quietly vanished into the dark. Number 12. The Island of Giants. Now flip the script. Forget the hobbits. Let's talk about giants, specifically the Homo heidelbergensis, the prototype humans who looked like they could wrestle bears for fun. These guys were around 500,000 years ago and were built like tanks. Massive skulls, thick bones, broad chests. Basically, if you dropped one into modern society, they'd be working as your gym influencer within a week. They spread across Africa, Europe, and maybe Asia, the true globetrotters of prehistory. They hunted big game, used wooden spears, and possibly built shelters. Imagine early humans standing shoulder to shoulder, staring down a mammoth and saying, "Yeah, we can take it." But here's where things get spooky. We don't know what happened to them. Some turned into Neanderthals, others maybe became Denisovans, and some just disappeared. What makes it weirder is the fossil evidence shows they were smart. Their tools were symmetrical, precise, and advanced. Signs of planning, learning, maybe even teaching. They might have been the first humans to look at a rock and go, "This is a tool," instead of, "This is for throwing at Carl." So why'd they vanish? Climate change, competition, or maybe they just evolved into something else, possibly even us. Meaning we might be walking around carrying the ghosts of Homo heidelbergensis in our DNA, pretending we invented everything when they laid the groundwork. Basically, they were the muscular engineers of humanity, and we're the soft, over-caffeinated descendants who forgot to say thanks. Number 11. The real-life cave artists. If you've ever stared at a painting and thought, "I could have done that," congratulations. You might have a bit of Neanderthal in you. These guys weren't the grunting, hairy idiots cartoons made them out to be. Homo neanderthalensis were emotional, intelligent, and probably way more cultured than the people who invented NFTs. For a long time, everyone thought humans were the only species capable of art or symbolic thinking. Then someone found red ochre handprints in Spanish caves, dating back 65,000 years. The problem? Humans weren't there yet. That's right. The Neanderthals painted first. They also made jewelry out of eagle talons, buried their dead with flowers, and maybe even played music. Scientists found what looks like a flute carved from bone. Picture a Neanderthal sitting by a campfire, playing prehistoric jazz while their friend smashes rocks together for rhythm. They were strong, too. Shorter and bulkier than us, built for cold climates and rough lives. But despite their muscle, they had empathy. They cared for the sick and elderly. They understood pain and loss. So why'd they disappear? We did. When Homo sapiens showed up, we brought diseases, better weapons, and, let's be honest, a terrible attitude. Over thousands of years, we outbred and outlasted them, but not before we, mixed a little. That's right. If you're non-African, there's about 1 to 3% Neanderthal DNA hiding in you right now. So the next time you lose your temper or decide to sleep in a cave, aka your blanket fort, just remember, that's your inner Neanderthal making a cameo. They weren't stupid. They weren't beasts. They were another version of us, one that might have survived if history had gone a little differently. Number 10. The cave people who liked fire too much. Let's talk about Homo erectus, a name that still makes high school students giggle, but represents one of the most important humans that ever lived. These were the pioneers, the first species to stand fully upright, control fire, and migrate out of Africa. They're basically the grandmasters of figuring stuff out. For nearly 2 million years, Homo erectus dominated the planet. That's a longer run than any other human species. 2 million years. We've been around for about 300,000 and we're already trying to destroy the planet with paper straws and iPhones. They invented complex tools, cooked food, and built the first camps. Fire wasn't just for warmth. It changed everything. Cooking made food more nutritious, which made their brains grow bigger, which made them invent better tools. It's like evolution ran on barbecue power. But here's the bizarre part. They just stopped. After nearly 2 million years of thriving, Homo erectus slowly vanished, leaving behind no descendants, no warning signs, nothing. Just fossilized skulls looking suspiciously like they're judging us. Some think climate change killed them off. Others think competition from newer species, like us, pushed them aside. But maybe, just maybe, they reached their limit. They didn't evolve fast enough. The world changed and they didn't keep up. Still, without them, we wouldn't exist. So next time you cook food or stand upright, hopefully both, thank Homo erectus, the original life hackers who literally brought fire to the world. Number 9. The Red Deer Cave. People. Okay, this one sounds like a horror movie. The Red Deer Cave people. But these weren't monsters. They were another forgotten species of human who lived in China around 14,000 years ago. That's shockingly recent. While Homo sapiens were out there building civilizations, these folks were living in caves, using stone tools, and cooking giant deer in the mountains. Their bones looked off. Skulls flatter than ours, jaws heavier, foreheads sloped, like a mix between modern humans and something much older. At first, scientists thought they were hybrids. Then someone said, wait, what if they're a whole new species? We still don't know. Some think they were the last survivors of a much older branch of humanity, maybe descended from Homo erectus or Denisovans. Others think they were just an isolated population of weird-looking humans who refused to update their software. Either way, their existence proves something wild. Even 14,000 years ago, we weren't alone. We were sharing the planet with other types of humans. Different faces, different brains, different stories. And then, poof, gone. No one knows how or why. Maybe climate shifts. Maybe humans moved in and said, this cave is taken. But the bones they left behind are haunting. They make you wonder if somewhere in some remote valley, another branch of humanity is still out there, quietly surviving. Wouldn't that be the ultimate plot twist? Breaking news. We found people who never evolved beyond 14,000 BC, and they think we're the weird ones. Number 8. The Tiny Mystery from Luzon. If you thought the Hobbit people were small, get ready for their even tinier cousins, Homo luzonensis. Found in a cave in the Philippines in 2019, these humans were tiny, like 4 feet tall, with curved fingers and toes like they were built for climbing trees. They lived around 67,000 years ago, making them another island-dwelling species that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Their mix of features is pure chaos. Their teeth look modern. Their feet look ancient. and their hands look like they're halfway through evolving into something else entirely. It's as if evolution threw a handful of traits into a blender and said, "Yeah, that'll do." Scientists think island life made them small, a process called island dwarfism. Basically, when resources are limited and there aren't many predators, species shrink over time to survive, which means these little people weren't broken humans. They were optimized humans. They hunted, used tools, and possibly even made fire, all while looking like toddlers who could outclimb you in a second. Then, as always, they disappeared. Maybe a natural disaster wiped them out. Maybe humans arrived and ruined everything again. Or maybe they just quietly lived and died without ever knowing they were the last of their kind. Homo floresiensis reminds us that evolution isn't a straight line. It's a chaotic doodle filled with weird experiments, failed prototypes, and side quests that never got finished. And if we've already found 2 mini-human species in nearby islands, who's to say there aren't more? Still hidden, still waiting, somewhere in the jungles of Southeast Asia? Number 7. The shadow ancestors of Africa. Now, here's where things get really spooky. Because this next species might still be hiding inside you. No bones, no fossils, no cave art, nothing. And yet, geneticists are almost certain they existed. They call them the ghost population of Africa, a mysterious group of ancient humans who left their DNA fingerprints in modern West Africans, despite leaving 0 physical evidence behind. Scientists discovered them by comparing modern genomes and finding chunks of DNA that didn't match any known species, not humans, not Neanderthals, not Denisovans. Meaning, there was a whole other branch of humanity we never knew about. Imagine that. Your body could be running ancestral software written by an entire lost civilization we've never seen. It's like finding a secret level in the video game of evolution. The ghost ancestors probably lived between 300,000 and 500,000 years ago, overlapping with Homo sapiens. Maybe they traded, fought, interbred, or just awkwardly avoided eye contact across the savannah. And when they disappeared, they didn't really die. They just got absorbed into us. Every cell in your body could be carrying whispers from people who've never been named, whose faces we'll never see, whose bones might still be dust under African soil. Think about that next time you look in the mirror. You're not just you. You're a remix, a living museum of forgotten humanity. Number 6, the Dragon Man. No, that's not a Marvel character. It's Homo longi, aka Dragon Man, and this one has the most metal name in human history. In 1933, a worker in China found a strange skull near the Songhua River. It was huge, with a massive brain case, thick brow ridges, and deep eye sockets. He hid it in a well to keep the Japanese army from taking it, and it stayed there for 85 years. When scientists finally studied it, they realized this wasn't a Neanderthal. It wasn't Homo sapiens either. It was something else, a species so big-brained it might have been smarter than both. Dragon Man lived about 150,000 years ago and could have been one of our closest relatives, possibly even more closely related to us than Neanderthals. Some researchers think Dragon Man and Denisovans might actually be the same species, just living in different regions. What's freaky is that they might have overlapped with early humans in Asia, meaning there was a time when at least 4 different human species were wandering the planet, and Dragon Man might have been the intellectual alpha of them all. Imagine a face-to-face encounter between a Homo sapien and a Dragon Man, both fully intelligent, both aware, both wondering which one was the real human. Spoiler: we won that competition, but it's not clear why. They were built like us, thought like us, maybe even dreamed like us, and then gone. No signs of genocide, no plague, no apocalypse, just the quiet disappearance of a species that could have been us, or maybe better than us. Number 5, the mystery ape men of Sumatra. Okay, this one sounds like a cryptid, but stay with me. For decades, locals in Sumatra have told stories about small, human-like creatures called orang pendek, hairy, intelligent, bipedal, and shy. Scientists usually roll their eyes, but here's where it gets interesting. Fossils of Homo floresiensis, the Hobbit species, were found just one island away. So, what if they didn't all die out? Some researchers suggest that isolated descendants of those hobbits, or a related species, could have survived much longer than we think, maybe even into modern times. Eyewitness reports describe creatures about 3 feet tall, walking upright, using sticks, and avoiding humans. The same exact behaviors Homo floresiensis might have had. No hard proof yet, but the forests of Indonesia are vast, dense, and almost impossible to fully explore. There could still be remnants of our forgotten cousins out there, dodging us, surviving quietly, waiting for the day one of us stumbles into their hidden world. If that sounds crazy, remember, we discovered an entirely new human species in 2019, so maybe the real wild part isn't believing. It's assuming we've already found everyone. So next time you hear something rustle in the jungle, just remember, it might not be a monkey. It might be your weird evolutionary cousin, quietly judging your Wi-Fi addiction. Number 4, the other us. Here's a plot twist. We were almost one of the forgotten species too. Yup, Homo sapiens were once the underdogs. For most of history, we weren't the smartest, strongest, or most widespread species. We were just one of many competing for survival. Imagine it. Earth, 100,000 years ago. You're one of several kinds of humans. Neanderthals are chilling in Europe, Denisovans rule the mountains, dragon men prowl the rivers, and hobbits thrive in tropical caves. It's like a prehistoric Avengers crossover, except everyone's hungry and terrified. At some point, we got lucky. Maybe it was language, maybe it was teamwork, maybe it was our ability to gossip efficiently. Whatever it was, our species became better at forming big groups and sharing ideas. And that changed everything. We out-coordinated, out-planned, and outbred everyone else. While other species built small fires, we built societies. While they made tools, we made stories, myths, beliefs, reasons to stick together. And that's probably why they disappeared. Because in evolution, brains aren't enough. Culture is the real superpower. Every lost human species was smart in its own way. But we're the only ones who figured out how to pass knowledge down for thousands of years, even if it's just how to make memes and ruin our posture. We didn't just survive, we remembered. And that's why everyone else became a footnote in our story. Number 3, the lost hybrid children. Picture this. Somewhere around 50,000 years ago, 2 species of humans meet in a dark cave. They look different, sound different, but somehow it still happens. Let's just say nature took its course, and boom, a hybrid baby is born. That's not speculation, it's evidence. Scientists actually found the bones of a girl whose mother was a Neanderthal and father was a Denisovan, literally a half-and-half hybrid. The Stone Age version of Romeo and Juliet, minus the poetry and plus a lot more mammoth fur. This discovery changed everything, because it means that not only did ancient species meet, they mingled a lot. Genetic data suggests multiple hybridization events. Homo sapiens with Neanderthals, Neanderthals with Denisovans, Denisovans with mystery humans. Basically, everyone was swapping DNA like it was a prehistoric dating app. What's even more fascinating is that these hybrid children weren't evolutionary dead ends. They survived, reproduced, and passed their genes down to us. Modern humans carry traces of all these encounters. Your immune system, your hair type, your tolerance to altitude, parts of that might come from these ancient hookups. In other words, you are not purely Homo sapiens. You are a messy, complicated cocktail of ancient love stories. And when you think about it, that's kind of beautiful. All those species that vanished, they didn't disappear completely. They live on, stitched into the fabric of who we are. You're basically a walking fossil record, one that still complains about Mondays. Number 2, the ones we'll never find. Here's a sobering thought. There are probably dozens of human species we'll never discover. Fossilization is rare. Entire populations can vanish without leaving a trace. And for every Homo floresiensis we find, there could be 10 more species whose bones are gone forever, eaten, eroded, or buried under cities we've already built on top of. Some might have lived only a few thousand years before being replaced. Some might have evolved in small, isolated groups that never spread far. Think about it. If a few thousand individuals lived and died in one valley 400,000 years ago, there's almost no chance we'd ever find them. Yet they might have hunted, laughed, built fires, told stories, entire cultures lost, like unrecorded dreams. And here's the haunting part. If evolution produced that much diversity before us, what happens after us? Will someone, 1,000,000 years from now, dig up our bones and wonder about us? The humans who built rockets, ruined ecosystems, and then vanished without a trace? Maybe they'll call us Homo technologicus, or maybe just that species who thought posting dance videos was culture. Either way, every forgotten species is a reminder. Nature doesn't care how advanced you are. The earth will bury you and time will move on. We only remember because we choose to. Number 1, the last memory of them. All now. Let's end where it really hurts, with the realization that every single one of these species, from hobbits to giants, had the same spark we do. They loved, feared, explored, and probably argued about nonsense too. They looked at the stars and wondered if something bigger was out there. They cared for their young. They grieved their dead. And yet, one by one they vanished, not because they were weak or stupid, but because survival is brutal. One drought, one disease, one unlucky generation, and entire branches of the human family tree broke off forever. But the universe has a weird sense of humor, because here we are, the last remaining humans, still carrying their stories in our blood. We are their continuation, their memory, their unfinished symphony. When we study their bones, we're not looking at strangers. We're looking at versions of ourselves that didn't get to make it this far. Their disappearance is the reason we exist, and their silence is what gave us the chance to speak. So maybe the real forgotten species aren't gone at all. Maybe they're echoing through us every time we wonder where we came from, or what it means to be human. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.